Let's cross live to our Lagos studios and speak to Nwosu, who is the Secretary General of the National Association of Government-Approved Freight Forwarders. Good evening, Mr. Nwosu. Thanks for joining us on Newsnight.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here.
I just wanted to get your thoughts. As someone who is deeply involved in freight forwarding, what is your take on this new 4% levy from the Nigeria Customs Service?
Thank you very much. It's not about my take, it's about the take of Nigerians. If you make it personal, it looks as if it has nothing to do with Nigerian populace. When you talk about the 4% increase by Nigerian Customs Service, some of us who went to bed a night before the increment woke up the next morning to a new dawn of an increment of 4%, which was said to be financing of custom operations. The question should be, how and when did we get to arrive at this point of 4%? The derivatives that led to this 4% increment are factors we need to consider as we look into the matter, as you mentioned.
I like that you brought up those questions, very critical, how and when. And as a stakeholder, I must ask you, because customs say that the decision was taken following broad consultations with stakeholders and industry players, relevant regulatory bodies. So my question is, were you carried along? And at the point of decision when this conversation or consultations, like customs put it, did you raise concerns at that time?
Yeah, as is clearly stated, this is an act of Parliament, Section 18 of the Custom Amended Act 2023, as contained. The provisions of that act empowers or authorizes the Customs Service to apply or implement the increment as was stipulated in that section, Section 18 down to Section 19 as explained. But like you asked the question here, with the process towards which this act was enacted, generally in Nigerian constitution, towards any enactment of any law and act, there are what we call public hearing, where stakeholders of concerned industry players are invited to come and make their submission either through memorandum of article of memorandum or state their position on certain policies of government before its enactment. But I want to inform you here that some of us were part of that public hearing in Abuja, where we were invited to make our submissions or make our contribution towards the enactment of this section of the Act of Nigerian Customs Service 2023. Yeah, the public hearing, we were given the opportunity to make our submissions. And after the preliminary, where the general public hearing was opened up to us, we were now asked to go back. But the important thing here is the essence of public hearing should be properly understood by whoever is asking questions. In enactment of an act, government or National Assembly invite stakeholders of relevant industries and groups to come and rub minds together with the National Assembly, especially those under the supervision of the Nigerian Customs Service, led by Honorable Adeleke, who was a supervisory honorable member who saw to this public hearing. Yes, after the public hearing, we were expecting a technical section where the decision of that public hearing will be made available for industry players and stakeholders to make a final contribution. At that public hearing, it was this particular proposal, this act, was vehemently objected to. We never accepted it. We never agreed to it. We are still looking up to further clarifications on what this act how it intends to impact the industry, impact Nigerian economy as it concerns the trade. What we are talking about here is trade. And all this act or the laws made are centered on trade. Yes, Customs Service have the right, the Nigerian Customs Service have the right to implement laws as been enacted by the National Assembly. But the question here, like you asked, were the industry stakeholders or the players carried along during the technical sessions where these decisions were reached? The answer is no.
Okay. And
moving on.
You say the stakeholders, such as yourselves, did not approve this decision. What sort of other potentials or what sort of other alternatives might the Nigeria Customs Service have taken? Because the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association are arguing that, look, this levy is just a revenue generation levy. It doesn't consider the economic well-being of Nigerians who will ultimately bear the brunt of this policy.
That was exactly what the point I'm making here. At the public hearing section, we made our position very clear that such acts, such laws to be made that does not reflect the interests of the general public. Any law that is not citizen-friendly is a bad law. At the point when we are making our positions, we made it very clear, just like the consultative forum did mention in reference, like you said, that this approach, this increment will impact negatively to trade. It will impact negatively to the general public. Who are the end users here? Nigerians are the end users. Who are you making laws for? Nigerians. So if you make a law or enact an act, which you have implemented now, that is citizen-unfriendly, how will it pay us well? It is not going to benefit anybody. Government might make laws, customs might carry on implementations. What about the impact? What about the economic, social impact, even the political impact, too, so to say? The most important aspect of it, how does it impact Nigeria? How does it better the life of an average Nigerians? Or is it all about enacting an act, implementing it, putting it into the system, and then expect Nigeria? Mind you, let us take into consideration that all these processes are all targeted towards trade. Who pays it? The trader. Who implements it? The customs or the government.
Great.
Who brings in the revenue? The trader.
So I wanted to ask you, because you're on ground, I mean, this is a 4% increase. If you can just tell us, how significant of a difference will this make on trade? And how much of that cost really will be pushed to the final consumer? If you can get in practical terms, how much of a difference this will be? And on the second leg, because we're almost out of time, I wanted to ask you, what is your demand of government at this time?
Obviously, the impact is negative. We all live in this society called Nigeria. There's no way you expect anything better than downward trending of Nigerians and the citizens. You go to the market. You and I go to the same market. Even the so-called lawmakers, they go to the same market, irrespective of the class and the level of market they go to. The important thing here is this goods ends up in the open market and some in the closed shops. How does it go? It's not impacting or even benefiting any common Nigerian in any way, because the introduction of this levy or this 4% thing is an added task. Let me take it a little far away from that. In this database of import duty collections, you have the import duty, you have the VAT, you have the surcharge, you have the ETLS, the levy, and now you're introducing 4% finance operation for customs, added to 1% CISSS that was already existing in the computing system. All this put together, as we speak, we are talking about 5% additional increment in duty collections, all targeted to trade. And how an importer who has tried so much hard to go travel to the market in like China, in Europe, in America, to bring in goods here to Nigerians, into Nigeria for Nigerian consumption. And now you are not adding another value. By and large, there's no way to make a very good impact on us. Rather, it will be negative. Rather, it will lead us to what we call high inflation. Rather, it will lead to smuggling. A trader is basically known for maximization of profit. They are there to maximize profit, and what they are looking for is avenue that will make them maximize profit.
Exactly, and that was my point, Mr. Nwosu, because regardless of tariffs hike or not, Nigerian consumers have been battered. They seem to be at the receiving end of every policy and every action. So that's why I was asking you, how significant will a 4% be in practical terms, and what your demand is of government. But unfortunately, we are out of time just at this moment. Perhaps we'll continue this conversation sometime else. Emeka Nwosu, Secretary General of the National Association of Government-Approved Freight Forwarders in Nigeria. Thank you for being on Newsnight. We do appreciate your time.